Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about some showers still persisting over in Western Australia. We're also going to get to a heatwave forecast over there, some storms for southeastern Queensland and some storms for New South Wales also upcoming in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing. The recent support in the channel has been amazing to see, and if you also haven't already, then give the big wet season forecast a watch as well. That's a comprehensive forecast outlook for the wet season, and it is a must watch. So let's get stuck straight into things over in the southwest of Western Australia, where we're still being plagued by showers. And for those in the southwest, you've got another 24 hours of those showery conditions just going to continue, especially if you do live along the coastline. So over the past 3 days, we've had quite good rainfall accumulations from a strong cold front that belted through on Wednesday, delivering severe weather Wednesday afternoon and evening into early Thursday morning. And the showers behind this system are still persisting. In fact, you can see that cold front over here moving through South Australia and onwards into Victoria and Tasmania, where it's expected to deliver some rainfall over there throughout the course of today. And you can see it here on the latest satellite and radar imagery. If it does care to load in here, you can see it's still swirling away, but it is much weaker at this time. People were very impressed with the system's appearance as well when it was south of WA. It did resemble a tropical cyclone with a massive band. However, that's not what this system was. It was an extratropical system. So peak rainfall accumulations did end up being between 60 and 70 millimeters along the hills and some of the more wetter locations in the southwest of Western Australia. Very good rainfall for this time of the year. My rain gauge over the past 72 hours has picked up 51 millimeters, I believe, or 56 millimeters, which is very, very good for this time of the year. And it is substantially higher than what a lot of the Bureau of Meteorology observations have been. But that's also in line with what some of the personal weather station observations have been. I've been checking the maps, and again, people have been reporting accumulations between 30 and 50 millimeters, pretty much Perth metro wide. So some very good rainfall has been reported there, and even some rainfall out into the wheat belt, which is fantastic to see. And all of this has culminated in really eradicating the concerns that we're having for soil moisture values across parts of the southwest of Western Australia. I was quite wrong in saying that they didn't really need 50 or 60 millimeters. Farmers were definitely calling out for some pretty significant rainfall accumulations. Unfortunately, minus a little spot around Katanning, it is the majority of the wheat belt currently now in above average soil moisture values, which is great to see for this time of the year, as we are now heading into the dry season over in the southwest of Western Australia, with no significant rainfall now on the horizon for at least another 6 to 8 months. Unfortunately, we do still have some mild to minor drought-like conditions currently being reported around the Norseman Kalgoorlie sort of area, but they are far enough out of the wheat belt where it's not a problem for farmers and other agricultural communities. All in all, a wrap up on winter. We thought we were done with winter about a month ago, but now we're probably most likely truly done with winter across the southwest of Western Australia. It has been a very good one rainfall wise, with some very good rainfall accumulations across much of the southwest and even parts of the central west, as well as far north as Geraldton. Winter rainfall accumulations have been above 500 millimeters up there. Very good rainfall indeed. But that is enough winter weather talk, especially for the southwest of Western Australia. Alright, so thunderstorms across the southeast of Queensland. We are expecting them to develop sometime later on today and into this weekend, but we're really expecting Tuesday to be the fire up for some of these more severe thunderstorms. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. However, for the short-term forecast, at least throughout the course of today, nothing really expected. We will see a few cells fire up across New South Wales, but it's not New South Wales we're focusing on. It is, of course, the southeast of Queensland. So tomorrow night, we are expecting some thunderstorms to fire up. It's going to be a warm day as well, might I add, across parts of southeastern Queensland, and as such, high humidity values will give way to a few thunderstorms popping up here and there across parts of Queensland's southeast. Some could extend into the scenic rim around sort of Beaudesert and Ipswich outside of Brisbane, but these thunderstorms here are going to be very sporadic, very hit and miss, and quite isolated, definitely non-severe as well. Throughout the course of Saturday night, they do die off again. It's going to be another fine sunny day throughout the course of Sunday, warming up into the mid-30s again for parts of central Queensland, 35 in Emerald. It's also going to be a warm day in Brisbane, 30 degrees there, same for the Gold Coast, before some thunderstorms fire up once again in a very isolated spot around sort of Rolleston and Taroom. They're going to be pretty hit and miss there on Sunday. Monday, we do get a few more thunderstorms starting to fire up, specifically along the Sunshine Coast. A few cells fire up there. Again, we're more looking at sort of pulse thunderstorms here, definitely nothing severe, no squall lines either. Tuesday is the most interesting day, and you can see it here from mid-morning into the early afternoon hours. We do start to see some thunderstorms fire up around the Toowoomba, Ipswich, barrage sort of area. At first, they won't go severe. It's going to take them a couple of hours to really stew and become potentially severe thunderstorms, with a heavy rainfall slowly developing from about 4 or 5 p.m. local time. You can see it here outside of Toowoomba, a couple of cells that are expected to fire up now on the forecast outside of Toowoomba and Chinchilla, and then even up towards Billawilla and Kingaroy outside of the Sunshine Coast. We could be seeing some pretty heavy rainfall out there. Now, these thunderstorms out here in the more centralised parts of Queensland, outside of the immediate section of southeastern Queensland, these ones here are the most likely to initially go severe, with potential supercell thunderstorms developing. However, the chances of supercell thunderstorms not looking likely at this time. It is a pretty hard forecast to make, all things considered, but just looking at the environment, I don't think there's enough instability or enough wind shear for supercell thunderstorms to really materialise in this atmosphere. However, we will keep playing this forecast through. You can see heavy rainfall from these thunderstorms expected to materialise around Brisbane and the Gold Coast by Tuesday afternoon, before these thunderstorms collect up in what's called a squall line, which is a big straight line of reasonably intense thunderstorms moving in one collective direction. Now, these thunderstorms here, this squall line, will blow through the northern parts of the Gold Coast, Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast, and as far north as Bundaberg, bringing isolated pockets of heavy rainfall, widespread areas of moderate to heavy rainfall, and some straight line damaging winds. So I do expect the thunderstorms on Tuesday night to go severe, most likely for that heavy rainfall and straight line damaging winds, where we could be seeing wind gusts up to 100 kilometres an hour. You guys know what I'm talking about. Southeastern Queensland, no stranger to squall lines, especially this time of the year. They are pretty frequent, and yeah, it's just going to look like a big blob of sort of green to yellow rainfall on the radar, which will deliver rainfall accumulations between 10 and 40 millimetres over a 1 or 2 hour period. So again, isolated pockets of heavy rainfall, widespread pockets of moderate to heavy rainfall from the supercell thunderstorms that could develop in the more centralised parts of southeastern Queensland. We'll be seeing some much heavier rainfall out there, the potential for large hailstones and damaging winds. However, again, the supercell risk kind of seems like a hard sell at this time, so we will keep a very close eye on things. The thunderstorms will persist through Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, when they will fire up once again along this trough line, with a lot of air sweeping in from the south, fueling a potential thunderstorm event by early Wednesday morning, moving up towards Gladstone and Agnes Water, and then further north on towards Rockhampton. But again, by around Wednesday afternoon, we'll see these thunderstorms fire up once again, the pulse thunderstorms at least, and the environment will just become saturated, and we will see squalls slowly start to develop, and the thunderstorms just collapse in on themselves as they run out of energy or a fuel source in the atmosphere. You can think of it like that. That's a very oversimplified explanation of how these thunderstorms will have their life cycle on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to see a bunch of them fire up, they'll collect together, move through an area delivering moderate to heavy rainfall, and then die off once they get themselves over a more unstable, or once they get themselves over a more stable environment, such as the ocean offshore from Queensland. Now, I've been throwing around numbers such as rainfall accumulations up towards 80 millimetres or so from this weather event. The forecast models don't agree with me on that. They're expecting accumulations between sort of that 20 to 40 millimetre mark, and I'm going to explain that to you now, why that is the case. Now, thunderstorms are very localised, very isolated and concentrated in one area, which means that some locations pick up huge rainfall, and then a place 5 kilometres down the road might not pick up any rainfall. The forecast models do a pretty good job with forecasting rainfall for squall lines and thunderstorms that are expected to move in kind of a big formation, but they do an awful job at predicting thunderstorms that are expected to fire up in an isolated fashion, such as supercell thunderstorms and pulse thunderstorms, which is what we will see at least in the first half of this so-called thunderstorm outbreak on Tuesday morning into the afternoon, which means rainfall is dramatically lower than what will actually fall for some locations. Don't get me wrong, as a guidance, this is a fantastic forecast here between 15 and 30 millimetres or so, but there will be places that pick up 0 millimetres and places that pick up 80 millimetres. It just depends where these thunderstorms move through. So again, you can't go Cook and the Bureau of Meteorology or other forecasters that are expecting rainfall accumulations between sort of 10 and 20 millimetres when you get 80 millimetres, or when they say numbers such as up to 60 millimetres expected, and then someone completely misses out. That's just because the forecast models can't crank out enough detail to get a completely accurate forecast. For that, you need convective models, which is high-resolution forecast models cranking out an awful lot of data, looking very close at thunderstorms, and right now they're only available in the US and the EU. Hopefully one comes down to Australia pretty soon. However, again, I haven't heard any news from that on Windy or any other forecasting agency, unfortunately. It'll be great when Australia gets a convective forecast model specifically for Queensland and New South Wales. We'll get some amazing data from that, and thunderstorms will be, as such, much easier to predict. But right now, especially for rainfall, it's very difficult to make an accurate forecast in terms of thunderstorms, especially for southeastern Queensland. They're just too volatile and too unpredictable at this time. But as a general guidance, accumulations between 20 and 40 millimetres around the Brisbane metro are possible on Tuesday afternoon and evening. Some locations will miss out, some locations will get double that. It is just too early to tell at this time. There'll be more information on this later on in another forecast update tomorrow, and then Sunday, Monday and Tuesday I'll be able to give more information on this event. But for now, it is a difficult forecast to make. But yeah, that basically does it for the southeast of Queensland. We're just going to take a look a little bit further on into the future. We do still have thunderstorms expected to fire up on Wednesday afternoon as well across parts of more central Queensland, up towards Rockhampton and more central parts of Queensland. They should move out of the southeast in the wake of a bit of a cold front that blows through there and brings a little bit more cooler and windier conditions into the southeast of Queensland. Thunderstorms are still firing up here and there as well on Thursday, but they're going to be contracted more towards the Queensland coastline, and they will be much fewer and further between. And then on Friday, we're expecting a bit of a line of a cold front to move through New South Wales, and in the wake of some very warm temperatures that are expected to develop on Friday, where we go into the mid-30s for parts of New South Wales and the mid-30s for parts of Queensland, we could be seeing a line of thunderstorms develop through New South Wales, but that is a week in the future now, and I don't think it's really worth talking about. It's just kind of the heads up at this time, because we don't really have a setup for severe thunderstorms on this New South Wales event here. It's just this Tuesday event that I'm most interested in for the southeast of Queensland. I'll be releasing more information on it in tomorrow's forecast, and we'll know a lot more in tomorrow's forecast as well. And the forecast has been a little bit choppy. It's changed quite a bit over the last couple of days. We will keep a very close eye on things. But yeah, it certainly is something that's now worth watching. In terms of rainfall as well, it's certainly something that's worth considering as kind of a bit of a threat. You can see 2-day rainfall accumulations through Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, up towards that 50 to 60 millimeters, which for a thunderstorm forecast is actually quite a lot. I was throwing around numbers earlier on in the video up towards 100 millimeters. Now that's peak rainfall accumulation and it's under the right thunderstorm cell, and those will most likely be concentrated in some of the foothills areas along the Sunshine Coast. The forecast models just do a horrible job at predicting peak rainfall for thunderstorms, and that's okay because thunderstorms are very kind of localized, and forecast models just don't have the power to do local or extremely localized forecasts at this time. That's what we use convective forecast models for, and they right now are pretty much only available exclusively in the United States and the EU, but I really do hope that they come to Australia pretty soon. That's a pretty complex description of these thunderstorms over in southeastern Queensland, so let's just take it back a little bit and now talk about some heat that is expected to develop across parts of Western Australia. It certainly is going to start to feel like summer, especially for Perth once again, with temperatures expected to soar into the middle parts of next week. We're going to see temperatures go up to 30 degrees on Thursday, most likely for Perth. That is in line with Bureau of Meteorology's forecast, but I would just like to say that there's still a little bit of uncertainty now. We will see a west coast trough develop sometime next week, most likely Thursday and Friday, and that will bring temperatures up into the mid-30s for parts of the northern wheat belt and into the high 20s, early 30s for parts of the southwest, and it's probably going to feel like the first true run of hot weather into the later parts of next week and early next fortnight's weekend, Saturday, Sunday, the 12th and 13th of October. So it is going to get quite warm, and it certainly looks like in the wake of this severe weather that has been plaguing the southwest, we're going to see a complete change and it turn into effectively summer from then on. And just before I finish off this video as well, I would like to just give a brief tropical update as well for the northern parts of Australia. We do have some interesting stuff now coming through as well on the tropical forecast. Some showers and storms now pretty persistent across the northern parts of WA and into the Northern Territory as well. Like I said, that 50 millimeters every 10 days now falling across parts of the northern Kimberley from thunderstorms expected to fire up next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. We're expecting some pretty good thunderstorms to fire up across the Kimberley there. Some isolated pockets of heavy rainfall expected. However, unfortunately for those in far north Queensland rather, so used to giving the southeastern Queensland forecast, it is still going to remain dry and uncomfortable there. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to remain dry for the next 10 days as well, at least for the next 10 days. And you can start to see those soil moisture values really fall across parts of far north Queensland, with them now seeping down into the high 70, early 80% sort of values here, or into the mid 80% values. That's actually quite low for far north Queensland. This time of the year, that is completely normal and expected to happen. But in terms of the average for far north Queensland, that's actually looking pretty dry, considering it is Australia's wettest place. So yeah, we will keep a close eye on things up there. I'm not expecting them to develop drought-like conditions, that's for sure. However, I'm expecting it to be considerably dry for the next month or so, and for the water restrictions outside of sort of Cairns and out of the major dam areas out towards Mount Carbine to continue up in Queensland's far north. Like I said, no drought expected to develop from this patch of dry weather. It's just is going to remain dry, and the rainfall isn't on the forecast now for quite a while. But yeah, it's a short one today. That's all that I have time for in this forecast update. If you have enjoyed the video, then please do let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like as well. Your support is greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 20,000 by the end of the year. So again, all support does help. And thank you so much for watching the video to this point. If you've got any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comment section down below as well. If I've left anything unanswered and I can answer in the next forecast update, then please do let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, that is all for me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.